The last signal. The stars were dying. Commander Threx stood alone on the broken bridge of his ship, staring at the black wave that swallowed planets. The void swarm had come again. No lights, no sound, just endless darkness moving through space, destroying everything in its path. He pressed a button on his cracked control panel. The ship shook under his feet. One of the engines had exploded minutes ago. The hull was broken, life support failing. But Threx didn't care anymore. "This is the last message of the Valari Empire," he spoke, his voice shaking. "If anyone hears this, know that we fought. We didn't run. We didn't beg. We faced the void." Behind him, the black swarm wrapped around a nearby moon. It vanished in seconds. Threx looked into the recording screen. "We called for help. No one came. The council fell silent. The trade clans abandoned us. Even the tech priests left. All hope is gone." He paused, breathing heavy. "And the humans? They're dead. Gone for 1,000 years. Legends and stories. They won't save us now." He pressed send. The message shot into space, passing burning ships and broken satellites. It traveled, far through dead systems and quiet stars. It was meant to die, but someone heard it. Far across the galaxy, on a forgotten outpost drifting in the dark, an old satellite blinked. Dust covered its metal. Its systems hadn't worked in years, but today something clicked inside. A signal, a voice. "We didn't beg. We faced the void." The satellite sent it forward, passing the signal to an old station on the edge of a red dwarf star. The station had no crew, only machines. But deep inside, a locked program activated. It opened files buried under layers of code. One word repeated again and again: Terran. In a dark room, deep inside the hidden Terran system, a man opened his eyes. He wore black armor, cold and silent. His eyes glowed with data streams. He had no name, but he had orders. He walked down a long hallway filled with silence. Along the way, other soldiers woke up, men and women with half-metal faces, quiet footsteps, and serious eyes. At the end of the hall stood a giant window. Outside floated a fleet of warships, huge, dark, and shaped like knives. Each ship had one mark, a red star with a black circle around it. The Terran symbol. The man stopped at the command bridge. He spoke only 2 words. "Activate fleet." Back. On the edge of dying space, the last Valari station received a signal. A young technician named Ree stared at the screen. Her hands trembled. It's a reply," she whispered. The old general beside her laughed bitterly. "Another fake? Pirates?" "No, sir," she said. "It's human." The room went silent. "Impossible," the general said. "Humans are extinct. They vanished after the Great War." The screen blinked again. A voice came through, cold, deep, and slow. "This is Terran Command, we heard you." Gasps filled the room. Some soldiers dropped to their knees. Others cried. Ree stared at the screen. "They're real." The general's face turned pale. "If the humans are back, then the galaxy will never be the same." In deep space, just beyond the black edge of the void, space twisted. A hole opened. Sharp, red, and glowing. One by one, Terran warships arrived. They made no sound. They sent no greeting. But every ship aimed its weapons forward, toward the dark. Swarm, and then came the voice again, this time across the stars, reaching every still living station, ship, and world. "We are not here to save you. We are here to finish what we started." Somewhere far away, the void swarm shifted. It had no voice, but it felt something. For the first time in eternity, the darkness hesitated, because something older than fear had returned, and it had teeth. Ghosts from the past. The galaxy had not spoken the word human in centuries. For some, it was a myth. For others, it was a warning. Children were told, bedtime stories, behave, or the humans will come. Entire worlds erased them from history, hoping that silence would keep them buried. But now, they were back. and they were not the same. In the capital of the Xylan Council, 1,000 alien leaders gathered. Holograms blinked across the war chamber, showing the impossible. Massive Terran warships moving through dead space, heading straight for the heart of the void. Chancellor Olzek, an old reptilian creature with golden eyes, stared at the screen. "This must be fake," he said, voice low. A smaller advisor shook his head. "We've checked the signal 10 times. The energy signature is Terran. The ship designs, it matches the ancient records." Another counselor stood, wings folded behind his back. "But the Terrans were destroyed. The war, remember? The fall of Earth. We all saw the flames. They disappeared," a quiet voice said. All eyes turned to a tall, thin alien, Ambassador Vela of the Draxan people. She was calm, her silver skin glowing under the lights. "Not destroyed," she continued, hidden, silent, watching. A murmur spread across the room. She looked at them, serious. They waited, all this time. On a small moon near the edge of explored space, an old scientist watched the Terran fleet with shaking hands. His lab was filled with artifacts, human weapons, armor, bones sealed in glass. "Beautiful," he whispered. His assistant, a young insectoid with bright eyes, was confused. "Professor." "Why are they coming now?" The old man smiled sadly. "Because the void fears nothing, except one enemy." The young one tilted its head. "Humans?" "No," the professor said. "The monsters we turned them into." Inside the lead Terran, warship Crimson Vow, General Kale stood on the command deck. He was tall, built like a tank, with a cybernetic eye glowing red. His officers stood behind him, half machine, half human, all silent. "Status?" he asked. "Fleet is in position," said a woman with metal running through her arms. "Void swarm is reacting, they know we're here." Kale nodded. "Let them come." The screen lit up with thousands of red dots, void creatures rushing toward them like a tidal wave. An officer spoke again. "We have incoming transmission from the Xylan Council. They want to speak." Kyle stared at the screen for a long time. "Deny." "Sir?" "They abandoned us," he said. "They don't get a voice now." At the Galactic Archive, historians scrambled to open ancient sealed files. Data long erased was now being recovered. A young archivist read out loud from an old file. "In the year 4387, the Terrans became too powerful. Their weapons broke planets. Their soldiers felt no pain. We united to stop them. We attacked Earth with fire and thought we had won, but we never found the body, never saw them die." Another report flashed across the screen. Terran psychology. "Do not corner them. Do not betray them. If you do, they will never forget, and they will return." The room fell silent. "They're here," the archivist whispered. Meanwhile, on a hidden station orbiting a dying star, one young alien made a dangerous choice. Her name was Sarian. She was an engineer, smart and curious and tired of lies. She hacked into the communications relay and sent a secret request to Terran Command. "I don't fear you. I want to understand you. Let me come aboard." She didn't expect a reply. But one came, approved, transport incoming. Minutes later, a strange black shuttle arrived. No lights, no markings, no welcome. Sarian stepped inside. It was cold, empty. The walls were smooth like stone. She sat down. The shuttle moved, no sound, no shaking, just movement. When it stopped, the doors opened. And there they were, humans. But not like the stories. Their faces were calm but serious. Their eyes glowed faintly. Their bodies looked real but moved too smoothly. Some didn't blink. Others barely breathed. One stepped forward. A woman with long black hair and pale skin. Her voice was soft, but carried power. "You asked to understand," she said. Sarian nodded, heart racing. "Yes." "Then you must know the truth," the woman said. We didn't survive. We evolved. Back on the battlefield, the Terran fleet began to move. Weapons glowed. Engines roared. Each ship left a trail of burning light behind it. The void came forward, black shapes twisting, writhing, screaming in silence. The first shot fired. A Terran beam cut through the dark like a sword of light. Entire pieces of the void vanished. The battle had begun. But this was not just a war. This was revenge. And across the galaxy, everyone finally understood one thing. The ghosts from the past were not here to talk. They were here to finish what they started. First strike. The stars were no longer quiet. Across the edge of the galaxy, light exploded. Burning, twisting, screaming light. The Terran fleet had fired its first shot, and the universe would never forget it. Commander Threx, still trapped in his broken ship, floated among the wreckage of his fleet. His ship had no power, no shields, no way out. He thought death would come soon. But then, the darkness stopped. The void swarm, which had chased him for days, suddenly pulled back, as if something, no, someone, had made them pause. He looked out the shattered window, and then he saw it. Terran warships, hundreds of them, each shaped like a blade, each silent and terrifying. They didn't fly, they cut through space. Then came the sound, not music, not words, but something ancient, a battle code, a warning. This is Terran command. All non-Terran vessels, clear the field. This war is ours now. In the central system of Veltar Prime, the population gathered around massive viewing screens. Children held their parents' hands. Soldiers watched with wide eyes. Even the high priest stopped his prayer. On the screen, the battle played out like a nightmare. Terran ships didn't just shoot. They hunted. Each missile was smart. Each beam chose its target with cruel accuracy. The void creatures that had terrified the galaxy for centuries were now running, burning, screaming in silent pain. The people cheered, but deep inside, many felt fear. "Are we watching our saviors?" someone whispered, or something far worse. Inside the Terran ship Obsidian Fang, General Kale stood with arms crossed. "Status," he said calmly. "First wave successful," replied his officer. "Void casualties above 80%, no Terran losses." Kyle didn't smile. He never did. "Send in the Ash teams." The officer paused. "Sir, are we sure?" Kale turned to him. His voice was ice. "This ends now. The Ash teams were not like normal soldiers. They were human, yes, but not only human. They wore black armor with red glowing lines. Their faces were covered by emotionless masks. Their weapons moved as if they had minds of their own. They were designed for one thing: cleanup. And they had waited 1,000 years for this moment. They landed on the remains of a void hive, a dark planet covered in strange black towers, dead air and broken stars above. The moment their boots touched the ground, the silence cracked. Void creatures attacked in waves, flesh, shadow, and teeth. But the Ash teams moved like smoke. One soldier fired a single round. 7 enemies dropped. Another used a plasma blade to slice through a wall of enemies like they were paper. No screaming, no fear, only silence and death. Above, Sarian stood on the bridge of Crimson Vow, watching the destruction. She turned to the human woman beside her, the one with the glowing eyes and calm voice. "Why are you doing this?" Sarian asked. "Why return now after so long?" The woman looked out the window. "When the galaxy turned on us, we let it burn," she said. But then came the void, and it threatened more than revenge. It threatened everything. "But you're fighting like monsters," Sarian whispered. "Aren't you afraid of becoming the thing you hate?" The woman turned to her slowly. "No," she said. "We became that a long time ago." Meanwhile, on the Council homeworld, chaos broke out. Some members begged for a ceasefire. Others demanded humanity leave. Some wanted to surrender to them, afraid they might be next. But then a new message came from Terran Command. It played across every channel, every ship, every world. We do not seek alliances. We do not want your thanks. We remember what you did. We remember Earth. This war is not yours to fight. Stay out of our way. But not everyone stayed back. In a hidden base on the outer rim, a small rebel group of aliens, scientists, warriors, and survivors gathered around a table. "We can't let the humans fight alone," said one. "We know what the void did to our worlds, our people. But the humans scare me more than the void," said another. A third leaned forward. "Maybe. But one thing's clear now. Only the humans can stop the darkness. They sent a signal. It reached Terran space. We know what we did. We know we were wrong. But let us fight beside you. Let us help." The humans didn't answer right away, but somewhere, in the shadows of their fleet, someone was listening. Back on the battlefield, the void shifted again. For the first time in history, it adapted. Its next attack would be worse, smarter, and more deadly. But General Kale didn't blink. He walked to the central console and looked at the map. Then slowly he pointed at the heart of the enemy. "Target their source," he said. "We take the war to them." The first strike was over, but the real war, it was just beginning. The Black Heart, in the coldest part of the galaxy, past broken stars and dying systems, there was a place no ship dared to enter. The humans called it the Black Heart. The void called it home. It wasn't just a planet. It wasn't just a system. It was alive. And now the Terran fleet was going there. General Kale stood at the center of the command deck. All lights were red, shields at full power. Silence filled the ship like ice. "Are we ready?" he asked. His officer nodded. "All ships aligned. The fleet is holding." Kyle looked at the massive rift in space ahead of them. It pulsed like a wound, blackened, wide, swallowing light. Beyond that, the source of the void. "Then we go in," Kale said. "All ships, enter the heart." The fleet passed through the rift. The stars vanished. No gravity, no time, no sound, just darkness. Then, shapes, massive, twisted structures floated in the void. Some looked like broken bones, others like machines grown from flesh. All of it moved, slow, breathing, watching. The humans had entered a living graveyard, and it hated them. On the ship, Crimson Vow, Sarian pressed her hands against the viewing glass. "What is this place?" she whispered. A nearby human officer answered. "This is where the void began," he said. "Before the stars, before life. It fed on light, and grew hungry when light spread." "Then why didn't it destroy everything already?" she asked. He looked at her, voice low. "Because it feared us." Suddenly, every human ship received a signal, not from another fleet, not from a creature, but from the void itself. A voice spoke, deep, ancient, layered with thousands of echoes. "You should have stayed dead." The voice shook the decks. Some Terran systems flickered. Even the AI whispered, "Unnatural contact detected." Kale's cybernetic eye glowed brighter. He replied with one word, "Fire." Beams of burning light tore through the blackness. The Terran fleet struck with brutal precision, missiles, particle cannons, quantum blades. Entire sections of the Black Heart crumbled. Void creatures screamed, but they didn't flee. They evolved. From the shadows came new forms, shifting, absorbing damage, twisting their own bodies into weapons. They moved like storms and hit harder than before. One of them slammed into the side of Obsidian Fang, piercing the hull. A Terran soldier opened fire, but the creature absorbed the bullets and mimicked the gun, firing it back. Weapons adapting. Someone yelled, "Switch to level 7 biodisruptors." Kyle ordered, "No mercy, burn everything." Meanwhile, aboard a stealth-class Terran ship deep inside the heart, a secret team was on a different mission. Their goal wasn't to fight, it was to find the void's origin and destroy it. The team leader, a woman named Major Reyna, led her squad through twisting tunnels made of black crystal and pulsating flesh. The deeper they went, the colder it got. Time itself started to warp. Voices echoed that didn't belong to anyone. And then they found it. A sphere. Floating, glowing with a red, angry light. "It's a mind," Reyna said. "It's the void's brain." But before she could place charges, a voice echoed in her head. "You fear me, but you created me." She staggered back. "No, that's not possible. When you were betrayed, I fed on your pain. When Earth burned, I fed on your hate. You built me without knowing. I am your shadow." Reyna stared at the sphere and realized the truth. The void was born from human rage. Across the battlefield, every Terran soldier felt it, a strange weight in the chest. Sharp memory of betrayal, fire, loss. Some hesitated, some broke, others smiled. Because now they knew. This wasn't just war. This was revenge against their own past. Back on Crimson Vow, Sarian watched a strange moment unfold. One of the void creatures stopped. It didn't attack. It stared at her, tilted its head, and whispered, "Help us." Then it turned to dust. Sarian gasped. "They're alive. Inside it." The human officer looked at her sharply. "What did it say?" "It asked for help," she said. "It wasn't a monster. It was someone." The officer said nothing, but his face darkened. General Kale received Reyna's message. He heard everything, about the sphere, about the truth, about the void being part of them, for the first time in 1,000 years. He hesitated. Then he gave the order. Break the heart. Terran forces unleashed their final wave, planet-killer weapons, solar core bombs, reality-tearing rounds. The black heart cracked. It screamed, not just in rage, but in pain. All across the void, the swarm collapsed, ships fled, shadows vanished. The sky grew quiet. The Terran fleet stood victorious, but no one cheered, because now they understood. They had killed a piece of themselves. Later, far from the battlefield, a single human message echoed across the stars. "Victory is ours. The heart is dead, but the shadow remains." And in the silence that followed, something else awoke. Something deeper, something older than the void. Watching, waiting, smiling. What waits below? The war was over. The void was broken. Its black towers had fallen. The stars were bright again. Across the galaxy, people cheered, but the humans did not. General Kale sat alone in the war chamber of the Obsidian Fang. His eyes stared at nothing. His armor was still marked with ash. The voices of the dead echoed faintly in his head. The Terran High Command sent a message. "Mission complete. Await further orders." But Kale didn't answer, because he had heard something else. A whisper. One not from the void, but from beneath it. Something still waiting. Aboard the stealth-class ship Shadow Wing, Major Reyna and her team floated above the ruins of the Blacks. Heart. The massive structure was silent now, split open like a dead beast. Void matter drifted like ash in space. But something was wrong. Their scanners picked up movement, deep below the shattered surface. "We already destroyed the core," one soldier said. Reyna stared at the readings. "That wasn't the core," she whispered. "It was just a lock." They sent down a probe. It didn't return, so Reyna led the mission herself. Her team entered the broken tunnels, dark halls made of twisted bone and melted time. Symbols lined the walls, old and alien, far older than anything human or void. Then they reached a chamber, and saw it, a sealed door, blacker than space itself. It pulsed slowly like a dying heartbeat, but it wasn't locked anymore. It was opening. The door groaned as it split apart, spilling red mist and a sound none of them could explain. Not a scream, not a voice, just presence. Behind the door was a stairway made of crystal and blood. It led down. Reyna activated her body cam and sent the footage to Kale. Then she descended. Her team followed. The stairs went on for miles. Time stretched. Their minds blurred. Some saw memories from Earth. Others saw things they could not explain. A child with black eyes. A burning library that never existed. Their own deaths. Finally, they reached the bottom. There was no floor. Only a sky. Upside, down and filled with red stars and something huge. It didn't move. It didn't speak. It simply was. A shape covered in chains that weren't made of metal. It was asleep or pretending to be. And around it floated hundreds of frozen void creatures like insects trapped in amber. Reyna stepped forward, her voice shaking. "This isn't the void." "No," said a voice behind her. It was Kale. He had arrived. This is what created the void. Thousands of years ago, before the first star, there was something else, something deep. The humans once called it the Deep One. The old builders called it the Root. The void called it Master. It was never meant to wake. But when Earth burned, and rage gave birth to the void, the chains began to crack. And now, the last lock was broken. In orbit above the ruins, Terran Command argued. Some said, seal the site, burn it, never return. Others said, study it, use it, it is power. A rebel group of aliens, the ones who asked to fight beside humanity, sent a warning. Whatever it isn't your enemy, it's everyone's. But the vote never finished because the Deep One opened an eye. It wasn't physical. It was in every mind, every screen, every system. It looked at everyone, and it spoke. You fed the fire, you broke the lock, now watch what comes. Then it laughed. Every Terran ship shut down, weapons dead, shields gone, gravity broken. Kale and Reyna ran, racing back up the stairs as the ground shook. The frozen void creatures melted and screamed, but they didn't attack. They fled. Even they feared what was waking. Sarian, still aboard Crimson Vow, felt it too. Her vision went dark. When it returned, she was somewhere else, a desert of red glass, a sky filled with fire, and in the distance, Earth. But not as it was, as it would be, if they failed. Then she blinked, and she was back. Something is coming, she whispered. Something worse than the void. Terran Command sent one final order. Evacuate all ships, lock down the sector, prepare all defenses. Kale returned to the bridge. We have a new war, he said. The officer beside him asked, against what? Kale stared at the stars turning red and answered, something we've never beaten, something we created without knowing, not the void. The origin of fear itself. And deep below, chained in the dark. The Deep One smiled, because for the first time in forever, it was hungry again. The broken sky, the stars were wrong. That was the first sign. Astronomers on every human colony noticed it at the same time. Constellations shifted, stars flickered like dying candles. A few disappeared completely. Then cracks appeared in the sky. Not clouds, not storms. Actual cracks, thin glowing lines stretching across the night like broken glass. The universe itself was splitting. General Kale watched the footage from Earth's lunar observatory. Is this real? He asked. Yes, the AI answered. The laws of physics are failing. Where? Everywhere. Kale turned to his war council. We woke something that was never meant to rise. Now reality itself is breaking. Someone asked, can we stop it? Kale didn't answer, because he didn't know. On the far side of the galaxy, in the ruins of a long-dead alien empire, the last surviving priest of the Vari stood beneath a sky that bled fire. He opened the sacred texts, ones written in blood, not ink, and he read the final warning. When the sky breaks, the first mouth shall speak, and the sleepers beneath dust shall open their eyes. The priest fell to his knees. We are too late. Meanwhile, Reyna and her team were racing toward the galactic core, chasing fragments of a signal they didn't understand. It came from the Deep One, but not a threat. A map. What if it wants us to follow it? Asked one soldier. Reyna's face was pale. What if it wants us to see what comes next? They followed anyway, because humanity had one strength that the Deep One had never known. They were too curious to stop. In deep space, the alien alliance called a meeting. Terrell, Vosen, Shilari, and even the scattered survivors of the Korak, all of them had hated humans once. All of them had feared Earth. But now the sky was breaking above them too, and only one species had ever survived such madness: humanity. So for the first time in known history, the galaxy turned to Earth and said, "Lead us." Kyle stood before them on a massive hollow bridge. His armor was old, scars on his face, a long black cloak of war over his shoulders. "I will not lie to you," he said. "This thing we woke, it doesn't want planets. It doesn't want power. It wants to end meaning itself, to break the rules of life and death, time and thought. It wants to turn the universe into a mirror of itself." Some aliens whispered in fear. Kyle raised his voice. "But there is one thing it cannot break, unless we let it." He pointed to the stars. "Us." And then, the first mouth spoke. Every planet, every mind. The message came through dreams, wires, blood, screens, and memory. "I was buried before your kind had names. I was alone when the stars were young. I slept through light. I wake for darkness." And with those words, the sky cracked fully open. Tears in reality widened. Ships vanished into them. Whole moons blinked out, and from the cracks, things crawled out. Things not born in any known reality. Creatures with too many eyes. Mouths that whispered lies. Bodies that shimmered between being and not being. The first world to fall was a mining colony on Goran 7. The sky split above it. The people inside stopped moving. Not dead, not alive, just paused, like someone hit pause on the whole planet. Kale watched the footage. "Are they recoverable?" someone asked. "No," Kale said. "They're in between now, frozen outside time. Then we fight back." Kale looked down and saw the blood dripping from his metal hand. He hadn't been cut. It was just happening. The rules were breaking inside him too. Sarian stood in the quiet temple of her people. A voice came to her. Not the Deep One. Not a god. Her mother's voice, even though her mother died years ago. "You must find the spire," the voice said. "The first door, the last lock." And suddenly, Sarian remembered something she had never seen. A tower made of bones and fire, somewhere in the center of all things. She left that night. Alone. She didn't tell the others, because she knew. This wasn't just about fighting monsters anymore. This was about truth, and the truth had a price. On the edge of Terran space, the first Unity fleet was born. Human ships, alien ships, voidbreaker ships, even one vessel once thought cursed, powered by ancient forbidden tech. Their mission? Not to kill the Deep One, but to reach it, and ask the hardest question. Why? As the fleet prepared to jump, Kale recorded one final message. To Earth, to the people, to the universe. This is General Kale of the Terran Vanguard. We go now, beyond the broken sky. If we don't return, remember this. We were not the first to face the Deep One, but we might be the last who choose to stand. Then the fleet vanished into the dark, and the stars wept, because something was watching, and it had just smiled. The final word. No one had ever gone this far, not even the void. The Unity fleet flew beyond the edge of stars, past where maps ended and physics fell apart. Colors bled into each other. Time moved sideways. Ships trembled as reality peeled away. Layer by layer, one pilot whispered, "We shouldn't be here." Kyle stood at the command deck of the Obsidian Fang. His hands rested on cold metal. Around him, alien captains and human admirals waited. The final message from Earth still echoed in his ear. Do what must be done. But no one truly knew what that meant. Sarian was the first to see it. The spire. It wasn't a structure, not really. It was a thought made into form. A pillar of endless height, spinning slowly in a sky of red memory. It pulsed with the heartbeat of the Deep One. Reyna gasped. That's not just where it lives. She touched her temple. It's where it was born. The fleet approached slowly. Some ships cracked apart without warning. No weapons, no fire. Just silence. Gone. Others went mad. A Korak battleship opened fire on itself. Its crew sang songs. That didn't exist. Only one thing kept the others from breaking. The humans were still moving forward. And wherever they led, the rest followed. Because even now, especially now, they were still the one species that refused to kneel. As they neared the spire, Kale's mind filled with voices. Children crying, rivers boiling, a star screaming as it was born. Then one voice, louder than the rest. You come to end me? Then you will first understand me. And suddenly, Kyle wasn't on the ship anymore. None of them were. They stood in a memory, not their own. A universe before this one. Bright, peaceful, orderly, and in its center, a shape, lonely and curious. It touched the walls of reality. It asked questions no one had asked. Then it found the answer. And broke. The shape twisted, screamed. It learned fear. It learned hunger. It spread. It became the Deep One. And its whisper reached the new universe. Let me in. Kyle fell to his knees. Reyna was shaking. It wasn't born evil. No, Sarian said softly. It was just left behind. A mind too old, too lost. Kyle looked up at the spire, now glowing with red light. But now it wants us to feel the same. The fleet had a weapon built from void matter, fueled by collapsed stars. It could erase the spire. One shot, one choice. Kale gave the order. But before the countdown finished, the Deep One spoke one last time. You can destroy me, or you can hear me. Only one path will save you. Kale froze. Sarian stepped beside him. What if this is the test, she asked. Not strength, not technology, mercy, Reyna whispered. We always win by killing. What if this time, we win by choosing not to? Kale closed his eyes, and he remembered Earth. A planet that almost died. A people that almost gave up. But didn't. He pressed a different button. Abort. The weapon shut down. A silence fell across the fleet. The spire stopped spinning. The light faded, and the cracks in the universe began to close, one by one. Kyle spoke into the void. We hear you. We forgive you. Now let us go home. And the Deep One answered, not with words, but with peace. The skies cleared. The ships returned. The stars smiled. And for the first time in forever, the Deep One slept again. Not in chains, but in hope. Back on Earth, the sky was blue again. Kale stood beside Serene, watching children play. Reyna taught alien recruits at the academy. The Unity fleet stayed, united not by war but by memory, and the galaxy told a new story. Once the sky broke, but humanity stood firm, not with fear, not with fire, but with the final word, mercy. And deep beneath forgotten stars, the last whisper of the Deep One drifted like wind. You were the last light, and I was not worthy. But now I understand. Thank you for ending me with kindness.